Once upon a time, in a quiet little village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a curious girl named Maya. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the tree line, she would sit by her window and listen to the gentle rustling of the woods beyond. The villagers called it the Whispering Woods, for it was said the trees there could speak if you knew how to listen. Most folks stayed away, too wary of the forest's secrets, but Maya's heart always tingled with wonder. One twilight, as she watched the first stars blink awake, a flash of golden fur darted past her garden. It was a fox, but unlike any she'd seen before. Its coat shimmered like moonlight, and its eyes held a knowing gleam. Before she could call out, it slipped into the shadowy trees, leaving only the faintest trail of glowing paw prints behind. Maya's breath caught in her chest. Without thinking, she tugged on her boots and tiptoed after it, her pulse humming with excitement. The moment she stepped beneath the ancient oaks, the air changed. It wasn't just the crunch of leaves underfoot or the scent of damp earth. It was as if the forest itself had sighed, welcoming her. A soft murmur curled around her, too faint to be the wind. Was it her name? Maya spun around, but there was only the fox, waiting patiently on a mossy stone. Its ears twitched, and then impossible. The nearest birch tree rustled, and a voice, slow and creaky as old wood, whispered, "You've come at last." Maya's eyes widened. The secret of the Whispering Woods was real, and the adventure had only just begun. Maya's hands trembled as she reached out toward the talking tree, its bark wrinkled like aged skin. The birch's pale branches swayed without wind, leaves humming that strange, whispery language. The golden fox sat perfectly still, watching her with eyes that reflected more stars than should exist in the night sky. You know me," Maya managed, her voice barely louder than the forest's murmurs. The fox flicked its shimmering tail, an unmistakable invitation. The tree groaned softly. "The woods remember every curious soul," it said, and suddenly Maya understood why villagers avoided this place. Not from fear, she realized, but from the dizzying sense that the trees could peel back your thoughts, like reading the pages of an open book. Something warm brushed against her fingers, the fox's muzzle nudging her onward. As they ventured deeper, the path twisted in ways that defied logic. Ferns uncurled to reveal bioluminescent veins, and thick roots rearranged themselves to form staircases down sloping ravines. Twice, Maya caught movement between the trunks, not animals, but willowy figures of dappled light and shadow who vanished when she turned to look. The birch sentinel wasn't always the only guardian, the fox said suddenly, speaking aloud for the first time in a voice like wind through reeds. Maya stumbled back, but the shock was overtaken by dawning delight. "You can speak, naturally." The fox trotted ahead, its glowing paw prints flaring brighter as the canopy thickened overhead. But the more pressing question is, why do you think you're the first human to hear us? Maya froze. That hadn't occurred to her. The woods were ancient. Surely others had strayed within earshot of the sentient trees before. They weren't listening properly. The fox continued, answering her unspoken thought. It paused beside an enormous oak split clean down the middle, not by lightning, but by some colossal force that had charred the edges black. A sickly violet glow pulsed from the fissure, casting long, grasping shadows. Others came to take, said a new voice, the oak itself. Hacking at roots, scattering embers, they woke darker things. The fox's fur bristled, and now those things stir again. The balance cracks. Maya's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She wanted to ask what darker things meant, but the answer slithered up from the forest floor before she could speak. The violet light in the oak's split trunk writhed, forming shapes. Skeletal hands, jagged maws, eyes that burned like drowned stars. A metallic tang filled the air, the scent of lightning about to strike. The birch's voice cut through the rising dread. You were called for a reason, child of quiet wonder. The woods chose you because a branch snapped in the distance. Not the gentle sigh of the forest, but the crisp, deliberate sound of something breaking its way toward them. The golden fox whirled, ears flat against its skull. Too soon, it hissed. The violet glow intensified, throbbing like a wound. Maya barely had time to register the cold sweat on her neck before the fox lunged, not toward the noise, but at her, knocking her sideways into a hollow beneath the oak's roots as the world erupted in shrieks of splintering wood. Darkness swallowed her whole. The last thing she saw before the roots sealed shut above her was the fox standing defiant before the fissure, its golden light flaring bright as a supernova. And the horrors the oak had hidden finally, at long last, crawling free. The roots tightened around Maya like protective fingers, plunging her into absolute blackness. She gasped, not from fear of the dark, but from the sudden, staggering scent of scorched sap and iron blood filling her lungs. Beyond the earthen walls of her hiding place, the whispering woods convulsed in agony. Ancient oaks groaned as something ripped through them with an unearthly shriek, their roots writhing as if trying to flee the very soil they'd grown in for centuries. Maya pressed her palms against the damp walls, her fingers brushing something slick and warm. Bioluminescent fungi pulsed to life in response, revealing an intricate network of carvings, pictographs of foxes, trees, and humans woven together in harmony, now split by jagged claw marks. The violet light from above seeped through cracks in the roots, casting eerie patterns over the symbols. Then voices. Not the birch's creaking timbre or the fox's windsong speech, but something fragmented. Whispers that slithered into her skull like splinters. Hunger, the pact broke. Let us out. Maya clamped her hands over her ears, but the words burrowed deeper. The carvings under her fingertips began to shift. the fox and human figures fracturing into monstrous silhouettes with too many limbs, too many teeth. A violent crack shattered the roots above her. She flinched, expecting horrors to come pouring in. But instead, a thin silver vine snaked down, wrapping around her wrist. It burned cold, like winter's first frost, and yanked her upward before she could resist. The world outside was unrecognizable. The once lush clearing now gaped like a wound. The ground split open in jagged fissures, oozing that same sickly violet. The great oak lay in splinters, its trunk hollowed out, the remains of its ancient heartwood blackened and chewed. And the fox, Maya's breath caught. It stood silhouetted against the ruin, its golden fur dulled, one ear torn. Before it lozed a creature of writhing shadows and stolen shapes. Branches snapped into jagged antlers, the pelts of half-digested animals stitched into its shifting body, its maw a yawning void lined with thorns. The violet light pulsed from its chest. "Run," the fox rasped, its voice raw. "The hollow one cannot follow where the roots still sing." Maya stumbled back, but the thing twitched, its antlered head snapping toward her. The whispers surged, this time coiling around her ankles, tugging her forward. "Child of quiet wonder, you'll feed us too," the fox lunged, its teeth snapping shut on empty air as the hollow one moved, faster than shadows should. A tendril of darkness lashed out and wrapped around Maya's throat. Ice burned her skin. The whispers became a roar. Images flooded her mind, forests burning, roots withering, humans clutching axes and torches. They woke darker things, then hunger, endless hunger. The fox snarled, its body flickering like a guttering candle. And then, with a sound like 1,000 leaves sighing at once, the forest answered. Vines as thick as Maya's arm erupted from the ground, entwining the hollow one's limbs. Flowers she'd never seen before bloomed along their lengths, their petals gleaming like knife edges, slashing at the violet light in the creature's chest. The hold loosened. Maya tore free, colliding with the fox as the woods twisted around them. Roots surged upward, forming a barrier. But through the gaps, she saw the hollow one laugh, its jagged moss splitting wider as the violet glow intensified. The vines blackened, the flowers withered. "It's unraveling the pact," the fox hissed. Its claws dug into the earth. "We need the sentinel's heartwood, the last piece it hasn't corrupted." But the oak is. Maya's gaze darted to the ruined tree, then stopped. At its base, half buried in the debris, a single knot of unburned wood pulsed with a faint, gold-green light. The hollow one shrieked. The roots shielding them splintered. Maya didn't think. She dove. Thorns raked her arms as she scrambled through the debris. The hollow one's breath howled behind her, rancid and metallic. Her fingertips brushed the heartwood, and the world exploded in emerald fire. The forest's voice returned, not in whispers, but a deafening chorus. Trees she'd never noticed before straightened, their bark splitting to reveal eyes of molten amber. The ground beneath her convulsed, roots surging upward like spears, and the hollow one screamed, not in rage, in fear. Maya barely had time to clutch the heartwood to her chest before the fox barreled into her, dragging her sideways as the roots closed like jaws around the hollow one. Violet light flared, then snuffed out. Silence. Panting, Maya dared to look. Where the hollow one had stood, only a circle of scorched earth remained, rapidly being swallowed by new-growth ferns. The violet fissures in the ground sealed shut with soft, organic clicks. The heartwood in her hands dimmed, its warmth lingering against her palms. The fox collapsed beside her, its breathing ragged. "You listened," it managed. Maya swallowed hard. What was that? The fox didn't answer. Instead, it nodded toward the reformed clearing, where the shadows now moved wrong. Not with menace, but with reverence. The trees parted. A figure emerged. A woman, no, something wearing the shape of one, formed entirely of overlapping leaves and dappled sunlight, crowned with antlers of living birch. Her eyes were hollow pits of starless night. "The last sentinel," the fox whispered. The woman tilted her head. When she spoke, Maya felt it in her bones more than heard it. "They marked you when you stepped into the woods, little listener. Now the hunger knows your name." She extended a hand. "You can run," she said, "or you can learn." Above them, the canopy rustled not with wind, but with anticipation. The real nightmare was just beginning. The sentinel's outstretched hand remained suspended between them, fingers woven from interlacing ivy. Maya's pulse, hammered against the heartwood, still clutched to her chest. Its glow flickered in sync with her breaths, as though the forest itself waited for her answer. The fox's claws dug into her sleeve. "Choose quickly," it murmured. Its golden eyes darted to the tree line, where the shadows now twitched with something eager and unseen. The hollow one was just a scout. A shudder ran through the earth beneath them. From the fissures that had sealed moments before, thin tendrils of violet seeped upward like creeping mist. The sentinel hissed, her birchwood antlers shuddering. "It reforges the cracks." Her starless eyes locked onto Maya. "Your village stands where the old wards were rooted. They will come for it next." Maya's throat tightened. Images flashed behind her eyes. Her mother hanging herbs to dry by the window, old Mr. Tavish whittling on his porch, the laughter of children chasing fireflies, all unknowing, all unprepared. She reached for the sentinel's hand, and the moment their fingers touched, the forest erupted. The world dissolved into emerald wildfire. Maya screamed as roots burst from her skin. No, not roots, veins, glowing like the heartwood's light, had fused with her blood. The sentinel's voice boomed inside her skull. "Breathe, little listener. The first remembering always hurts." And then she was the forest. Centuries unfurled in her mind. The first pact carved into living bark, humans and spirits sharing laughter beneath these boughs. She saw the slow fracture, axes biting into sacred trunks, the screams of dryads smothered in smoke. Worst of all, she felt the moment the heart of the woods cracked open. Something ancient and ravenous slithering up from the dark below. The vision shattered. Maya stumbled back, gasping. Her hands trembled, now crisscrossed with fine, root-like scars that pulsed gold. The sentinel stood taller, her leafy form bristling. You see now, the hunger that woke beneath your village's plows, the pact broken by fear. A howl tore through the trees, not of wind, but of something wounded and furious. The violet mist thickened, twisting into jagged shapes. The fox yowled, arching its spine. They're coming, the sentinel moved. Her antlers branched outward, piercing the gloom with shafts of liquid sunlight. Where they struck, the violet mist recoiled with a sound like shattering glass. To the heartroot, she commanded. You must regrow the wards before moonrise. Maya ran, the fox at her heels. The woods themselves aided them. Vines lashed down to form bridges over fissures. Owl-eyed mushrooms bloomed to illuminate their path. Behind them, the sentinel's light clashed with the descending dark, her voice rising into a keening song that made the oldest oaks weep sap like tears. They burst into a glade Maya had never seen, a towering, gnarled oak, its trunk wide as a house, split down the middle by a gaping wound. Violet ichor oozed from the crack, hissing where it touched the moss. The last heartroot, the fox panted. Its fur was matted with glowing spores, its voice fraying. They poisoned it, but the core still lives. Push the heartwood inside now. Maya lunged forward, and the moment the glowing knot touched the ichor, the ground heaved. The split trunk groaned, its edges writhing as if trying to knit shut. The heartwood burned hotter in her grip, searing her palms. Then a new voice, slick and laughing, echoed from the wound. Foolish sapling, we ate your guardians. What can one marked child do? The fissures in Maya's skin blazed. She glimpsed movement in the trunk's shadows. A dozen clawed hands reaching, the fox screamed. And Maya did the only thing left. She threw herself into the heartroot's maw. The moment Maya plunged into the heartroot's gaping wound, the world twisted inside out. Darkness swallowed her, thick and humming, but the heartwood in her hands blazed brighter, a tiny sun against the void. Around her, the whispers of the woods thickened into voices. The sentinel's fierce song, the fox's yowls fading, and beneath it all, the wet, gnashing laughter of the hollow ones. Then light. Maya gasped as she landed knees first on something pulsing. The heartroot's core sprawled before her, a cavern of gnarled veins lit by patches of dying gold. At its center, a withered knot pulsed weakly, its edges blackened by violet rot. Clawed shadows pressed against the walls, their fingers gouging grooves in the bark. You're too late, the slick voice hissed. The shadows pooled, forming a grinning maw of dripping teeth. The last guardian is already dead. Maya's scars burned. She clutched the heartwood tighter and stumbled forward. The shadows lunged, and the fox's voice shrieked from nowhere. "Speak its name." Maya's breath hitched. The sentinel's visions rushed back the first pact, the carved words. With a cry, she slammed the heartwood against the dying knot. "I remember you." The cavern exploded. Roots burst from the walls, spearing the shadows. The heartroot's veins blazed gold as the rot shriveled away. Outside, a roar shook the woods, the sentinel's light piercing the hollow ones like arrows. Maya's vision blurred. The last thing she saw was the fox, its fur now woven with living vines, pressing its forehead to hers. "Rest, little sapling," it murmured. "The woods remember." And as the heartroot sealed shut around her, healing at last, Maya knew the village was safe. The end